Read first. Mabel, you are muted. Or if someone else you can read for us, it's better now. Why?
Outline. The idea of certainty is not a simple one. We will engage Immanuel Kant's into bracket 1722 to 18 for account of certainty in the light of our discussion so far. See why his view marks a turning point in modern epistemology.
So his view is 1724. Okay, I think it was a slip. He said 1722. And I think Ephraim is around, so and others like him. No problem, it happens. Let's go. Auntie, read.
How certain are you of the following claims?
Very good.
2 plus 2 equals to 4. In 1957, Ghana gained independence. I exist. You exist. The sun will rise tomorrow.
Continue, my lady. I think Mabel is having a chat. Someone read for her. Continue. I missed all that part. Go ahead. Don't worry. I missed all that part, but go ahead. Every event must have a cause.
How certain are you of the following claim? 2 plus 2 equals to 4. In 1957, Ghana gained independence. I exist. You exist. The sun will rise tomorrow. Right now, I am perceiving this page. Barking dogs bark. Humans have evolved from lower animals. Every event must have a cause.
Very good. So, how certain are you of the following? The degree of certainty we associate with each varies. Can I have your comments on that? We are trying to interrogate the certainty of the following claims. Anybody wants to do that quickly? If you had all this, how certain are you about the claims there? The question of certainty. See that? Anybody? Okay, so you will think about it and answer your questions when they are asked of you. Tyra, I've seen your hand, but let's go on. So Kant's observation. Maybe I read, please. Maybe please read for me. Unless there will be another reader.
Madam, please, it's the same content.
I have moved it.
How certain are you of the following claims?
I have moved it. Can someone see what I have projected? And
yes, madam, should I read?
Go ahead. Thank you. Maybe thank you. Wait a little to come.
Kant's observation. There must be something fundamentally wrong with the whole way of thinking that led finally to Hume's phenomenalism and skepticism.
Very good. Now, what is this Hume's phenomenalism and skepticism that the paper you have there is where I couch this from. It's referencing. What is it? There was a certain thinking that led to this extreme sense of skepticism, not an absolute skeptic view, no, because he was an empiricist. He believed we can know something. But what he had to accept, I'm referencing Hume now, Kant's observation that he makes of Hume, and Hume was the character then. So Kant's observation is there has to be something that was from source wrong. If we were reasoning, the starting point was faulty in the way epistemology was being done. And that accounts for how it is that Hume ends up being an extreme skeptic, or if you like, a phenomenalist. So if you see this, then as soon as a good student will now quickly go and Google Hume's phenomenalism and keep himself abreast. You see, that is how he studies. Now, not that you come for someone to tell you. So a few of you that may be relying on only what you will hear will not really benefit. My dear, you go ahead.
Kant thinks, I am certain of some of the truths which Hume called matters of fact.
Very
Example,
good.
every event must have a cause. In all motion, action and reaction must always be equal, etc. Note that Hume did not think of these truths as certain, rather contingent.
Very good. So Kant is referencing a certain prevailing knowledge, something that was the status quo, and Kant is reacting to it. The empiricists had arrived at a certain understanding of what knowledge is. That is when we had the verification principle. It was almost like an agenda, a movement. Who insisted? Those people, they were logicians. Logic had become the thing, the ish. And the claim then was, and we are referencing Hume, who is, if you like, a figure. There will be others you will see, AJA, and others. It's a reference point that we make to show what was happening there. Okay, so the criteria for determining cognitive meaningfulness. What is meaningful, cognitively speaking, was what? Either the statement you've made, if you make a claim, we will take it to be meaningful for cognition, academia, something that is relevant for academic content. In other words, if we want to engage it meaningfully, I mean, you can talk your emotions. I can't interrogate your emotions. But if you want to contribute meaningfully to a discourse, then your claim must either be, this is coming from those who argued for what? Logic. The verification principle is what they use. We call them the analytic thinkers. They say a claim will only be accepted as cognitively meaningful if it is either one of the following. If its truth or falsity can be determined by relating the ideas. Now I'm using Hume's language. Relations of ideas, so you make your notes, or by matters of fact. You either relate the ideas to determine the truth or falsity. That's analytic statement, simpliciter, what we did in class, analysis. Or matters of fact, synthesize by observation. You leave the statement and go out of it. All the skirmishes I used to give you meaning in class the last time when we talked about synthetic hair. This hair is not mine, it's borrowed. All this drama was to get us here. So either you relate the ideas by analysis. So if I say A is A, I don't need to go outside of this statement to determine its truth or falsity. By just relating the two ideas, I will know that A has to be A. That if it's A, what else should it be? Okay, so A is A. All barking dogs bark. See the text I've given you. That's why I say bring it closer to yourself. If it is a barking dog, then it barks. Maybe I should do a quick check. How many of you have the text, please? Put up your hand. At least on Kant. Just Kant. Put up your hand. I'm not saying you have read it. I said, how many of you have it? 7, 10, 13. Then they said, oh, then you've done well. So you have, if you haven't even read it, which you shouldn't do, at least after the class, you have reference. So I can point certain pages to you. I can tell you, open this one, circle that to help your understanding. That's what I'm interested in. Very good. So we can continue. So Hume representing a certain knowledge era and a certain group who were very prominent. They had become the ish of the time. That's all I'm trying to show you. And so that is what Kant reacted to, because he thought that there had to have been something that was not appropriate in what led to that conclusion and others, to the point of extreme skepticism, that Hume felt that we cannot even empirically ascertain mind as a substance and matter as a substance. So the two substances that uphold mental states and what physical states cannot be justified empirically speaking. So what we have is the phenomena not that which underlies the phenomena. That's why it's called phenomenalist. So we can talk that reality is ultimately material versus others who say reality is ultimately mental, mind, and others who believe there are two ultimate realities, mind and matter. As for him, he said we can't justify as empiricists, and there's a reason why empiricism had become the standard, if you like. That's what I'm taking you to. Okay, so Hume says, if a statement is cognitively meaningful, then it must be a relation of idea. If it's not a relation of idea, we can give it a second chance. It must be what? A matter of fact. What does that mean? Relating ideas means analysis should reveal it. So what is an analytic statement? When we talk analytic synthetic, we are talking Kant now, I think. Okay. So I make a statement, it has a subject and a predicate. We did all that in class. We have a lot of marathons regarding that. So if you were in class then, and I believe most of you were, then it's clear. Those who weren't there, you can revise. You can look on the slides and upgrade yourself. A bachelor is an unmarried adult male. What we mean by the subject bachelor is actually what we mean by an unmarried adult male, simplicity. So I am not saying anything different. When I say a bachelor is an unmarried adult male, I'm not adding any information to the subject, which is bachelor. I'm not adding anything new. I just repeated myself. That's why we called it a redundancy. Remember marathon number 2. A redundancy, because when I speak analytically, you are able to, especially when it is analytically true, it can be analytically false too, where it's a self-contradiction. By the meanings of term, I'm able to tell already. So you are not adding any information. It is analytic. That is why Hume tells you, I don't need to go and observe when you tell me a bachelor has beaten his wife. So it means it's not really a contentious matter between rationalists and empiricists when it comes to analytic statement. They don't disagree. Why? Because by relating the ideas, even empiricists can accept what? Analytic truth as true outside of what? Experience. Now take note that that doesn't undermine their empiricism, because what makes someone empiricist is where the idea that you are relating ultimately was sourced from. Remember John Locke. I am relating the ideas, so I don't need to go and observe immediately as I'm sitting here. Yes, so it is analytic, or if like, it is a relation of idea. But does it mean then that I'm not empiricist? Not necessarily, because my empiricism is a label I get because I'm saying that those ideas I'm relating were not already there before I was born. We're not innate. I didn't intuit them. No. There is nothing in the faculty of mind that was not put there by the senses. That is a mantra that captures the empiricist claim strongly. Locke says the mind was a tabula rasa from birth, an empty slate. There was nothing inscribed on it. No kubemi before you came. Everything there was put there by the writing of the senses. I'm trying to be as simple about it as I can, so that you grab what the issue is and we go. Okay. So where we got the ideas to relate is what sustains a person's, those who argue this way, empiricist position. So they can still be empiricists. It hasn't undermined the view of the empiricists. Take note. But the rationalists will say those ideas you are relating were already put there, depending on which rationalist you are reading. Anyway. That is where we are. So by relating the ideas, I can come to the truth or falsity of a claim. So analytic truths or relations of ideas in Hume's language is not a matter of concern. It's not the actual contention. They don't focus on that when they go for their international conference as rationalists and empiricists to go and argue, or MPP and NDC to go and argue. Okay, they don't focus on that. Like the MPs, what's the name of that thing? The bonus they get, ex gratia. There is no contention about ex gratia. So it benefits both. They don't have an issue, but it is the other one. And that's where we are going to. Which one? Remember, again, before we go, when it is analytic or a relations of ideas, either it is necessarily true or necessarily false. It can be sometimes true, sometimes false. No, at least for Hume. So you see that when we are relating ideas, there is a sense of necessity. Follow me slowly. Don't rush, because it's a deep concept. It's a concept, but it's not difficult. It's not impossible, but it is engaging. You have to engage it. I'm saying that if you have an analytic statement, like all barking dogs bark, this must necessarily be true. If it is a barking dog, then it has to bark. What should it do? You call it a barking dog. If I had said all flying dogs fly, it would be necessarily true because I said they are flying dogs. So the necessity comes with it. If I had said something, it can also be necessarily false. I'm trying to show, so there's a sense of necessity when you are relating ideas. Whose surname is what? When you are dealing with analytic statement whose predicate doesn't add anything new to what its subject. It is non-informative. It doesn't add any quality. Okay, that's why we say it's a redundancy. Now, the other way of establishing cognitive meaningfulness in Hume's logical positivists, what do I say? I want to make it relevant to today's life, like their parliament, when they were making laws, because they were the Ubuntians, who are the logical positivists, a group of people at the Vienna Circle who felt that we have to apply a certain strictness to what we call cognitive meaningful knowledge that is what meaningful and relevant cognitively. Okay, so they say it has to be that claim that is being made before we even give it attention and start interrogating and seeing its value. Let's first check, can we relate ideas to establish its truth or falsity? That is the one we have gone through and shown the Kantian version. If we can't do analysis, in other words, by relating ideas, we are not able to arrive at its truth value, no problem. Let's consider the alternative. Check then to see whether it is a matter of fact. This is Hume's language, matter of fact. Let's check and see whether there comes Kant's language, whether by synthesizing, when we test you in exam, we test your ability to synthesize, your evaluation skills, your analytic, your skills of analysis, sometimes your assessment, how you can assess. These are these are tools. So we have tried analysis, it didn't work. When you compare, you are checking whether the person consistently, when I say analyze the claim that this, your ability to show that when the person says this, it actually means this also. And if it means this, then this is what we can derive from it. It's just within a closed circle. I do analysis. I haven't gone outside of the claim. Okay. But if I could also ask you something else. I'm showing you the connection. So here, the other side of it is what? Matter of fact. And for matters of fact, the statement itself doesn't help you to ascertain its truth or falsity. It is not enough. It doesn't have the capacity to, because it is speaking about a factual matter. See how I said it? So it is a matter that borders on the fact. What is the fact? In the logical positivist language, the fact is what about experience. And if it's about experience, how do we establish that? By experience. So if I say it is raining at Nungwa, it is experience that will tell me that. So you will see that matter of fact doesn't have necessity to it, because what the fact says is what will establish its truth or falsity. So if I check and it is not raining, how do I check? I don't check by meditation into heaven or reflect. No, I check with observation. I'm showing you why. It would then mean for some that a synthetic truth or a matter of fact will always be established how? A posteriori. That these two are terms that Kant introduced to show them that you are confusing two things. But before we get, I want to show you those two extremes that rationalists and empiricists had. taken from the language of what Hume. So Hume's second part is what I've showed you. Matter of fact means observation based. If you use it in Kant's language, it is tantamount to what? A synthetic truth. And I told ladies that, look, when we borrow that hair and carry, it is because you can't get that kind of hair within us as a statement. So you go out of us and get a Peruvian or a Brazilian or Mongolian hair to add to and mix it with your own. So sometimes what's the expression? You sew it into your own if it's an extension, or you wear it as a cap. You mix it, you synthesize it, the fra. So you observe and come and add it to the statement. So I said it is raining at Nungwa. You will leave the statement there and go out. So you synthesize and get an observation of the fact. And then if it is true that it's raining outside, then you come and say this statement is true. If you go and it's not raining, then you say the statement is false. Okay. So matters of fact are described as what? Synthetic statement, whilst relations of ideas are described as what? Analytic statement. Now, what your friend read says on the screen now, please. If you keep your screen idle for a while, it will stop showing you what. When I move, it will freeze sort of. So keep it active. I'm certain. Certainty means necessity. That's why I highlighted it for you to take note. We just did a very gentle, calm analysis of some deep concept, which is what? If it is an analytic statement or a relation of idea, it has necessity to it. If it is true, it's necessarily true all the time. It doesn't stop. Tautology, sort of, tautologos. If it is false, it is necessarily false. Why? Because the predicate is not adding anything new, it's just a repetition. I said redundancy, remember. So if the predicate you are trying to add, like you said, all barking dogs bark. If it is a barking dog, then it will bark. That will be necessarily true all the time. All barking chichis bark. All crying bobos cry. I don't know what a bobo is. I don't have to know it. I just said it is a crying bobo. Then it has to cry. So this one will necessarily be true, sir. When it is an analysis that led you to it, it will have what? A strict necessity to it, certainty. That's all we are saying. So analytic truth, it looks like certainties are what? About analytic statements. Whilst the matter of fact we saw doesn't have certainty, it's not a matter of necessity. It is what? Based on contingency, depends. So sometimes true, sometimes false, depending on the state of affairs out there, because you go out of the statement to check. Just like you go out of your hair to go and borrow the other one and come and mix it. So if you go and the hair is Mongolian, you become a Mongolian after you mix it. But if you go and it is Japanese hair, you go, then you become Japanese. So sometimes you're Japanese, sometimes you become Chinese, sometimes you become Brazilian and all. That's the whole point. So there is no necessity. Before Kant started his analysis, if you talk, pattern from why Corona, close it, Thank you. So before Kant's intervention, relations of ideas would have been known with what? Certainty. Whilst matters of fact would have been known with what? Contingency. Now, your sister read, the lady read and said, I am certain, this is a quotation of Kant. I am certain of some, see that he says some, not all. That is the tone of the rationalist. The rationalist doesn't say all knowledge, for instance, are intuited and deduced. No. When you go to Plato, who is another kind of rationalist, he doesn't say all knowledge is known innately. No. I don't know innately what I'll eat tomorrow. Maybe I will recollect it later. I think if you stretch his argument to the core, you may talk about things being known, but not all things at least. Yeah? So the point is, Kant takes that line, toes that line at the start of his discussion. I am certain of some of the truths which Hume called what matters of fact. Bingo. If it is a matter of fact, it shouldn't have certainty attached to it. Remember how we distinguished analytic statement from synthetic statement, where we use predicate and such. All these things, when you advance, it's philosophy. So we question and question and question. And you will see how some have even merged analyticity into synthesis. You don't see the difference. These are all, extremes. When you build higher and higher, at this level, it's fine. Let me show you what is there. So example of what you would call a synthetic statement. Remember, if it's a synthetic statement, it means it is not a definition that is, it's not a statement that is true or false by meanings, true or false by what definition, biological structure. No, it's not a definition. You can't use the very statement. That's why it is synthetic. And so if I say every event must have a cause, I've made a claim. Everything that happens must have been caused. This claim I just made, this statement, is not a definition. It's not a definition. Let me use an easier one. Back to our screen that when I asked the question, nobody wanted to react. I exist. If I say I exist, I'm not defining. It's not a definition. If I say God exists, I'm not defining. Think through it very well. Yet, I cannot also what? Observe to ascertain whether God exists or not. I cannot use observation. Remember, matters of fact. It is raining at Nungwa. That would have helped me. I would have gone to see. If I see that, I'll come and confirm. It will still be there, what? Cognitively meaningful. But I cannot see God exists, and it's not a definition. So if we go by the ish group that I referenced earlier, the Vienna Circle logical positivists that I referenced, their criterion for cognitive meaningfulness, big words, don't worry. If we go by that, then a claim like God exists will not be a definition. So it's not a relation of idea. Godness and existence don't relate. There's nothing within them that can help us. It's just a redundancy. It's not a redundancy. It's trying to inform, like synthetic statements do. Synthetic statements inform. Their predicate add to the subject. So we call them informative statements. Okay. The other one is redundant. This God exists is not informing. Take note, and absorb it gently. You where you are, you can even go and take a bottle of Coke, beer, and drink whilst listening to this one. Chill, cry here. It is not informing. Yet, we can't also tell its truth or falsity by relating the ideas. It's not a redundancy either. So the verification principle, the law, the checkpoint, the litmus test, the litmus paper that helps us determine the thing that you use to check whether you have malaria. This one is the tool that we use to check whether the statement we are dealing with is a cognitively meaningful one. That is the one we call a statement. You will say God exists. It's not used for anything that doesn't survive. There we go. The verification principle, when it is used to test it, becomes what? Cognitively meaningless. Throw it into the fire and let it burn. Now you remember. So go into our libraries. They capture Hume's write-ups. Then one of the writers said, go through the library books. Search all of them. Any text, any paper, any, if you like, it's a graphic or research paper or whatever. That is neither means it is not. It is neither relations of ideas. You can't use the ideas themselves to relate, like mathematics will help you do. 2 and 3 is the same as 5. Okay, that is meaningful by relating the ideas. All right, the other one says women deliver in 9 months, for example. You can check to see with the senses. Okay, another discipline says so and so and so. So use that standard and check any book, any discipline. I told you they were like headmasters. They were the ish of the time. When you pick the book, any book that doesn't pass either relating or ideas or this, throw it out of the library. Create a big bonfire out there. Put them all inside. They're wasting our time. My brothers and sisters in the Lord, with this criteria, metaphysical claims like God exists, like there is life after death, how do we check it? We are not dead. Someone says there's life after death. There is life after death. It's not a definition. You can't relate the ideas to ascertain truth or falsity. Let's go and check the other one. Maybe that one will help. We go and check her. We cannot empirically verify that. Then there is life after death statement. A claim that is supposedly knowledge has to be thrown out by this principle. The funny thing is that people critique the verification principle. That can we use the verification principle to check the cognitive meaningfulness of that very verification principle? And then people say that you have to relax with your extreme analyticity. Okay, but that's another a trouble for another day. Others also try to rationalize, trying to defend the verification principle, but in a way that tells them, look, you can't throw certain truths away. You have to expand how you use the verification principle, because we can verify whether there is life after death. We can use the other side, the other wing, the matters of fact wing, to check that. All we need to know to use to tell whether there's life after death is to die. So the one who wants to tell whether there's life, go and die. When you die, you will know by observation. So it is potentially then what still admitted. But those were after queries had come in, epistemology naturalized and what have you. Or Schlick and his folks were critiquing that, then they brought that in. But let's roll back to where we are. So if you look at it literally as presented, then God exists, which is a strong metaphor. I mean, imagine a world that didn't have a conception of God. Any form of, conception of God, whether the faith is Christian, Muslim, Hare Krishna, Buddhist, what have you, there is a certain conceptualization of God. Imagine a world without that. And who will do politics? Who will do economics? If this in Kabana, we are all gone. Because nothing will guide anything. There's no norm. There is no, restriction. Survival of the fittest. This very big matter becomes useless. You have to pick it. So there, this thing about God will recompense what you are doing. I mean, be guided by the 10 Commandments. Why will we revere it? Because it is God's word. Ramadan fast, people are traveling for Hajj, to be like, oh, this all it's just a waste of time. It's like throwing, saying, ouch, that's where emotivism comes from. The point I'm making is that all these became useless. I'm showing you the frustration of Kant. Where did we go wrong? That we have reached the point that we seem not to know anything. Nothing else is knowledge. Take note, that is what grounded. Even what is ultimately real, from Descartes now, the substance, two ultimate substances, the material substance and the what? Non-material, like immaterial substance, has been questioned, because as empiricists, remember where we have come from. We cannot empirically comprehend, see, experience the thing that we call what? Matter, nor the thing that we call mind. Hume there, he destroyed the two. Berkeley came to critique Locke, first the English empiricists of that time. Locke, he maintained the dualist view of what? Substance, just like Descartes. He took the whole pack of Descartes, just that he went the empiricist channel, and Descartes went what? The rationalist channel. But he accepted that there are two ultimate realities, mind and matter. So he was an epistemological dualist. Who am I talking about? John Locke. I just want you to have some historical connection. Okay. Then Berkeley takes over from John Locke. See how iPhone 14 Pro took over from some other one. So it's like, if this is the one you subscribe to, this is the latest argument line that drives the epistemological world. Okay. So what? Berkeley takes over from Locke and then makes a case that negates the meaningfulness of matter. Take note. Remember, Berkeley is what? Idealist, level 200. When Russell was engaging their text, he's a strict idealist, meaning that what ultimately exists is what? Mind, not matter. So the idea of the dress is more real than the dress you are making, because you have to have it really inscribed there. Then now you try to materialize it by bringing what you have already created in your mind into what? Manifestation. The draftsman who is going to build a whole city or design a city will have to have the building planned. So he's created, before you create it, it becomes material, something tangible. It would have already been an idea. The idea is more real, and so on and so forth. You are not the idealism now. You're doing it with level 200. You can Google their thing. Yeah, so Google, you can find some recordings there on the channel and engage them. So what? So he, who is this? Berkeley, who was also empiricist, negated the case that Locke, who was empiricist, was making for matter. I told him, my friend, are you an empiricist? Do you accept that mind is an ultimate reality? Locke says yes, and also matter. So he uses his primary and secondary qualities, blah, 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 to show that we can have material qualities with objective truth, and then the secondary qualities will have subjective truth. So he wants to keep the two. Do you want to eat your cake and still have it? That was the question Berkeley asked Locke. You better be a mind, the one who says mind is the ultimate reality. Or you can go the materialist way. But what you are doing there, you want to be a Laodicean church. A little here, a little there. It's not consistent. We can't defend matter, empirically speaking. As soon as I touch the material substance, it becomes my idea of it. So someone is touching that iron and it is hot. She's taking off her hand and this is too hot. Another person touches it. It's not hot for her. Some are even picking the live coals and putting it in there. I said all this when you were in the lower levels. Argument that Berkeley is using to show that what ultimately exists, which we can defend empirically, take note, because the empiricist is what? Mind. So what I make of it, that is why I am standing in front of the thing. You see what happened right now when your colleagues went to the site? He said, there is no box. Then I said, there is a box. He said, no, there is no box. Until the sister comes in and says, there is a box, but what you are using to see won't see it. So it's a point of view matter. It's not about the reality. Russell said, the reality, even if there is one at all, we may never know, because I am seeing it this way, the other person is seeing it that way. Okay. So it brings into contention what the real nature of the material substance, supposed material substance is. And then with that, Berkeley throws out matter. That the only way we can know matter, if there is one at all, will be mind. But we can't have a material substance that is not an idea in a person's mind. What is out there must be my idea of it. That is what I will project. A mind is what projects that. We know the problem of subjectivity that brings. We know the problem of other minds and others. That is not our focus. Now, I just want to show you how Berkeley critiques his fellow empiricists and then leaves us with only one ultimate reality: mind, spirit, soul, non-physical. Okay. Then Hume now comes to critique the second British empiricist, Berkeley, and tells him, Master, what you did with Locke to cut off matter, you have to do that to your own mind too. What you call mind. The idea is not mind. So the idea, we can't question it. I'm having sensations. Take note of heat. I'm having sensations of what? What is the thing? Redness. The sensations, they're ongoing. He called them impressions. We will learn it in empiricism. The impressions, I'm having them. But the I that is having them, which you want to call mind, how do I know it? Take note. Empirically speaking, I don't see it. So the language of substance, and as I says, whether mind or matter, we cannot substantiate it with the empirical source. So with that, we throw away mind. Now there is nothing that we can call reality. It's only the phenomena. So the seeing, the impressions that are going on. I may not even be there. I'm just walking around, gathering impressions. You do it better in empiricism. Phenomenalism and skepticism about everything. That is where we are. That's what is going on. So what? So back to this. Every event must have a cause. The principle of causality by the verification principle becomes what? This would have been true or false by what? Observation, which then will be what? Contingent. Kant says, as for me, dear, I am certain of the truth of what? Such statements. I don't consider them, or I don't see them to be what? Contingent. Why contingent? It should be contingent because this is synthetic, it's not a definition. We've gone through that. If I say in all motion, action and reaction must always be equal, it's not a definition. It's a synthetic statement, or if you like, a matter of fact. When you plant, you reap it. That's the every event must have a cause. When you slap a guy or you insult a guy, he'll slap you. When you don't pay the mate, the transport, they'll get you off the bus. All these are cause and effect reactions, so empirically verifiable, isn't it? Hume says, how do I establish necessity? Because he wants to be a strict empiricist, not an empiricist that assumes some things. If a rationalist does that, it's fine. You say it was already imprinted there. You're an empiricist, you have to query to the very latter. So that's what he's doing. Even rendered the notion of cause and effect skeptical. He was skeptical about that. How do you establish a necessary connection between event A and event B? When at one time, I've said that over and over again in class, you slapped Dennis, he didn't react. The mother slapped, he didn't react. But when his coursemate slapped him, he gave him double in return. If it is the slap that elicited another slap, why is that when the mother slapped, he didn't slap? There's no necessity. Brad Kant, Brad Hume. So if you want to establish causality, empirically speaking, he says there is no certainty. We can't even have. So Kant comes and he's saying that I think that there's some of the claims that my friend Hume, who was the boss of the time, calls contingent, I can detect some of them to have what? Necessity, certainty attached to it. So it is like you have found a contingent truth, a synthetic truth, but it has a sense of what? Necessity to it. That's the one that your friend read. I'm giving a good background. The rest we'll read through and I'll just top up. Any questions so far? Their hands up. I think they raised their hands to answer the earlier question. Let me lower all hands. Okay. So all hands are down. I may have someone who wants to read. Read the next slide I have projected for me to see. Anybody wants to read? Quickly, please. Let's move. Okay, nobody wants to read, so we'll move on.
Kant explains how propositions can be both genuinely informative about experience and yet absolutely certain. Discuss the claim that synthetic truths are contingent and analytic truths certain. Discuss Kant's a priori, a posteriori distinction and analytic synthetic distinction.
Very good. Thank you. So I've done the discussion of the second one. I've showed you how Kant thinks that a synthetic truth give information. They are existential, they are experiential truth. I've showed you all that. They add to what you know. They are about actual existence. Okay. So they are not certain. They are not certain. But here we are. Kant is saying, he thinks that there can be certain contingent, if you like, experiential, if you like, synthetic truth, information giving statement that have what? Necessity tied to them. There can be such. How that is the case is the issue, not whether there are. So here he would agree with the rationalist. He would agree with the rationalist that what? There can be synthetic a priori truth. Oh dear, I'm giving it away. Synthetic truths that are known independently of experience, meaning genuinely information giving statement, like what God exists. It's a question of existence, existential, something that is there. Information giving, I'm telling you something about God. You see, it is not a redundancy. Yet I know that for certain. But Kant hasn't mentioned God exists yet. He's using the ones that we mentioned earlier. Then he introduces a priori and a posterior, prior to experience, and the other one is posterior to experience, to show that we can have analytic statements whose truth or falsity are known a priori. That won't be an issue for MPP and NDC, I've told you, because they will both benefit. Analytic truth, relations of idea, they are known prior to experience. It won't be a problem for the empiricist. He won't worry himself over that, arguing unnecessarily with the rationalist over that one. So it is not a problem. But when the rationalists, like Plato, for example, wants to talk about synthetic truth, there we go. The level of difficulty is going up. So watch. So truth is about experience, synthetic truth. Yet this rationalist wants to tell the empiricist that this synthetic truth is known prior to experience. The thing is an experiential truth, giving information about a particular thing, a statement of existence. Yet, you rationalists, you are telling me that I know it without experience. Before I experience, I already know. The thing is an experiential truth, yet I know it prior to experience. Before I experience, I already know. How then is it an experiential? That is what the empiricist says, na lie. This one, dear, I won't agree. It's like e-levy in parliament. You lie. But if it had been ex gratia, even in our crisis, you say, oh, the parliamentarians' office. I mean, the work we do, the fullness we do, collect. I don't know about it, what is happening now. I've not listened to news. But if it's e-levy, there will be trouble. I just want to use that to help you understand. Forget your political things and let's learn. Now, politics, you're learning rationalism, you're sweaty. So stop. I don't know who, I don't let it worry you. Just focus. It will give you understanding. So if it is about certain truth, if the thing is synthetic there, you cannot tell me, says the empiricist, you cannot tell me that we can know that a priori. I won't agree. That is the bone of contention. All right. And I'm telling you that Kant doesn't say, he's not involving himself even in whether or not there can be such synthetic a priori. No. Whether or not is not a question any longer, says Kant. There are. In fact, if you listen to the reason Kant gives, then every claim we make is actually synthetic and a priori because of how he adduces the argument of a prioriness. What the a priori nature of our knowledge is. It is about how we know. It is not about some idea that has been put there that we know it a priori. That's what rationalists said. So I know certain ideas prior to experience. God put it there. I know already good, bad, justice. Remember Plato? So knowledge is just what recollection. That is not what Kant is saying. Even though he's admitting a priori truth, synthetic truth that known a priori. His distinction, which marks a phenomenal point in epistemology, is what? How such a priori synthetic truth come to be. It is not an idea that is put there a priori. It is a prioriness that is associated with how we experience. So I will go back to what I've said, but let me run to that is what is in the book that we'll see. What he calls the a priori categories of the understanding. Concepts like causality and substance, which I walked you through patiently to show you how epistemology had thrown out these basic assumptions, because the empiricists would say that they cannot have, and I'm referencing Hume now, they cannot have an empirical ground for claiming that there is matter, which is distinct from mind. I don't see matter. I see a material state of physical activity. I don't see the substance that underlies the physical activity. I don't hear that thing. I don't touch it. I don't taste it. I don't smell it. So it is not given to me empirically, and I'm an empiricist. What I can know must come through the senses. Matter is not known. It is the activity, the product of matter, if you like, that you see, not the material substance itself. We don't see it. We don't hear it. So he has thrown all out, and now we don't have a basis for calling reality reality. That thing, if we put flesh to it, you see, we are now doing the abstraction, which is the focus of the course. If we put flesh to it, you see. If so, then there is nothing left. The guy has thrown everything out. So Kant is trying to show that substance, matter, causality, these are all categories. Categories. The categories meaning the frame, the way our human, if you like, our thinking, that's what he calls understanding, is framed. The mind, or if you like, the mental faculty, or whatever you want to call it, is framed to see things in a certain way. You can't see that which is not within space and time. Let me finish this one and go to that one quickly. Then we are done. On your screen now, you see his argument does not focus on the question of whether we possess such knowledge, but how we possess it. Whether he has accepted, we have such knowledge. So now the rationalists will be celebrating. Didn't we tell you that there are synthetic apriori? See, the third person came and he has joined us. You empiricists, you don't want to accept that there are synthetic truths known with a priori certainty. There you go. You see that Kant came. He's not part of this debate, but he agrees. Okay. But his view, look down there, provides a mediation between what? Rationalism and empiricism. These are the terms that I went through. Maybe someone should read it quickly, quick, then we can go on. Very quick. Otherwise, I'll leave you to go and read it. See, I didn't know. That's my Emma. Who is speaking now?
The all important terminology.
I want to know who is reading. I appreciate your reading, but who is reading? Tabitha. Iria, I don't see you. Okay, you read. Abubakar. Okay, I now see you. Go ahead.
Recall important terminology. Analytic relation of ideas. A statement whose predicate is already contained in the subject. It is a logical or linguistic truth, so non-informative, necessary truth, true by definition, logical structure, meanings, tautologies, or redundancies. Example, all backing dogs back. A is a square is four-sided.
Very good. All those things, I've said it. It's just for emphasis. That's why I asked Haria to read. So let me have Tabitha read the next one. Thank you so much, Haria. Remember that it was Haria that read analytic truth, which I also call relations of ideas. I said everything here. Their truth are what? Redundant. Go ahead, my lady Tabitha.
Synthetic propositions. Synthetic, which is matter of fact, a statement whose predicate as to the subject. It is informative, informs us about reality, but it is not logically certain. It is not a definition. It does not depend on meanings or relations of idea for truth. Example, it will rain tomorrow. Ghana gained independence in 1957. Dogs bark. A is better than B, etc. Note that the predicate amplifies the subject, not just repeats it.
Well done. I've said all of that also. It was just so that you can hear it and keep it. Now, Tabitha, read the next one too. Or there's another hand. Is there another hand? Yeah, there's another hand.
A priori versus a posteriori.
Okay.
Rationalist emphasis. A priori, knowledge that is acquired prior to experience, independently of experience. A priori certain because it does not. Empiricist emphasis. A posteriori, knowledge that is acquired after sense experience, which is posteriori or to depend on, or dependent on, contingent because it depends on something.
My lady,
Hello?
please, are you done?
Yes, please.
Okay, I think we experienced a short network something, but it's fine. Is my screen still visible? I want to project
Yes,
tentative
please.
conclusions. Okay, thank you. So it will seem then that, like Madame read, all analytic truths, then it will seem, it's a seeming view until Kant's mediation. That what? All analytic truth will then be known a priori, whilst all synthetic truth will be known what? A posteriori. But Kant comes to show, this is the question, to ask this question, is there any truth that is about experience, a synthetic truth, meaning which is informative giving, it is not a definition, not a meaning, it's not true or false biological structure, yet we know it with, look on my screen please, with a priori certainty, independently of experience. Are there synthetic truths which are known with a priori certainty? Rationalists say yes, empiricists say lie, no. Okay, that brings us to the actual disagreement between the two, which I always like to emphasize. Whether there can be synthetic a priori truth is the actual disagreement, the actual one. That is whether there can be truth about experience known independently of experience. Examples: universal truth, logical truth, metaphysical truth, ethical truth. So when it comes to universal truths, such as the principle of causality, rationalists believe that we know this truth. Which truth is that everything that happens must have a cause. That's what we call the principle of causality. You can have another universal truth like the one I quoted earlier. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Citing, I think it was Newton's law, right? These are all supposed to be truths that are universally applicable. Wherever you go, the action you exert will give you backward an equal and opposite reaction. When you throw the ball hard at the wall, it will hit you back. It's just like you are just I'll quote that in the exam for you. I'm just quoting a supposed universal truth. Look at us saying it in tree. We say it, whatever it is, we have karma. It's in religions of different places. Give and it will come back to you. It's Bible. It's quoting the same thing in a certain version of it. So it seems like there is a certain universality to it. And that is what someone like Plato or a rationalist like Plato would attribute it to. Oh, it was already inscribed there in our mind, innateness. See that? Then others can say, no, we intuit it. When we think deeply and reflect with clear and distinct thought, we would arrive at such a knowledge. It's still rationalist. Then empiricists say, oh, we just look around. We see it in everyday life. When we plant, it grows. When you put money in the bank, it increases. When you don't learn, you fail your exam. And so that's the empiricist. Then another empiricist says, what you are saying, which I'm empiricist like you, but what you are saying, there's not true for all people. Do you know how many times that man and the woman have been busy? They have been busy, sir, but they haven't gotten taken seed yet. But this girl and this boy that went to the back of the house, no papa, no seed has been taken. So is there any necessity and so on? And that's what we've done till now. Universal truth, look on my screen. The principle of causality. Everything that happens must have been caused. Now, logical truth, you know already, the law of identity. A is A, the principle of non-contradiction. Metaphysical truth, such as God, definitions. They are statements that are informative, yet rationalists say we know them a priori. And our friend Kant wants to agree with them, but what he means by synthetic a priori, the a prioriness is what I want to take us to. Let's see if we have captured everything yet. So that's the claim. Plato's idea. Blah, 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 blah. But what is Kant's explanation? Kant explains how propositions can be both genuinely informative about experience, yet absolutely certain. Yet, there you go, yet. The explanation is not the normal rationalist approach we have discussed so far. You see, so I'm going to now tell you what I was saying earlier by referencing your text, and then wherever we get to, we will pause and continue next week. What is Kant's explanation? Turn to the first page, the problem of certainty. You should be looking at your text. I'll look at mine also here. What is on the first page? You have seen it in this slide already. So we move to the next page of your reference. Look at it. What do you see there? Let me see those who have it. Do you see Kant and Hume? The title, Kant and Hume. Can anyone
Yes,
see you on mute? Very good. So anyone
Yes,
who
please.
can, perfect. I like that. Now anyone who can read Kant and Hume, this is where your compulsory question will come from. 30 marks.
Hey.
So you choose one. Yes. Don't joke.
You can't see.
Sister, let's say that we can't see. Share. Vim, take your book.
Madam, we can't see.
You can see what? Help me. Who is talking? Is that Duma? What can't you see?
Madam, we can't see
Yes,
the cat in Hume.
That's why your friends are laughing at you. It's because they don't want me to hire them. That's why they have muted them. They are laughing at you at all. Are you the one answering the question?
You can't see the screen.
Which screen are you looking at?
We can't see what.
Hey,
Madam, we can't see what
I
you
said-
projected.
Hey, what do you
Like
want me
it's
to
not
project?
showing on my screen.
You don't see any projection at all. What do you see?
Yeah, I don't see anything. Not, I just
Okay.
see the people, the participants who have joined the class.
Oh, I didn't. Let me stop
Madam,
sharing.
Madam, it's true.
Oh, can anyone see?
Madam, I
What
can't
is Kant?
see.
Oh, let me ask the question. Who can see? But what is Kant's explanation? Unmute and okay, if you can see, but what
Madam,
is
please, I can see, but what is Kant's explanation?
it is there.
Yes, I
Okay?
can also see. Yes.
Let it be there. Everybody who can see, let me stop sharing and reshare. What you can't see, because that's not what we are doing now. We are going to what you should look at in your book there. The next 10 minutes, I want to do the introduction of that side for you and get you where City Campus got to. Then you go and do the reading and answer my compulsory essay question and get your A, which I want to give you willingly, but you earn it. Where is it? I'm resharing. I can't see people. Can you see? But what is Kant's explanation?
I see.
We can see.
Madam, can't see that.
Oh, madam, now we can see.
Okay, let's continue. This one, yes, thank you so much. Currently, what you see on the screen is for you to be guided that this is what we are looking at in the text. So go to your text now. The one your TA helps you put together. Look at it. Let me reference something. I'm muting everyone. Not disabling your mic though, but there's too much noise at the background. So look at the Kant and Hume. We are on the second page there. It starts with, I openly confess. I want one of you to read that for me. I think that here, so that you don't use all the things they have said them. So let's move so that you get something good for yourself. Okay. So turn over now to the third page. What do you see at the top of the third page? I want to see if you are following.
Madam, please, you can't hear. Oh.
Doc, please, we can't hear anything.
Madam, please.
Madam, what? Madam, please.
I'm muted. Oh. Madam, please, we can't hear you.
I don't think she's in the class anymore. She was
All right, so we are back. Listen, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, let's
Yes,
continue
madam.
quickly. Yo, everyone, let's continue. So I was showing you something. I said for the first page of the text, the problem of certainty, which your TA compiled for you, the first page, we have discussed it. You see the examples I've even referenced in the slides. 2 plus 2 equals 4, what have you. So there is nothing there to worry your head over, okay? Then you turn over, you will see Kant and Hume. That's a title there. That paragraph and the discussion there is showing you what I have given a whole historical background to. Hume's phenomenalism and skepticism. You see that the text is the one that I give, those ones are underlined for easy referencing for you can easily refer to it. You see the laws of motion, Newton's law of motion, that that in all motion, action and reaction must always be equal. What you give is what you get. So what you act is what is given back to you. If you smile at someone, you almost automatically get a smile. Of course, that is unless you are going to, anger the person. And you plant a seed, you are supposed to get a fruit or something out of it. But we saw how Hume raises or questions these. Now, then it takes us just so in that same paragraph so that you can navigate that text and be able to answer to the text. That's what I'm doing. There we go. So what? There you will see the statement made by Kant that we are not contending over whether the right at all. We have them. But how we come to have it is the issue in contention. And how Kant responds to it, that's what I projected again. Look at your screen. Is totally phenomenal. It's different from how any rationalist would have thought of doing that. Then look down there, some important terminology. Please, you see that title?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I just want to be sure if you see. Yes, that title takes us to the next page. Important terminology that I've helped you see already. A priori, a posteriori. That's what is in the box there that I was asking about before. The interruption. I tell students not to call. They don't understand. When you call, it interrupts. Send a message. The person will call back. At least me, I do that. People want to call you as if you are their girlfriend. 12 midnight, near free. All right. Then this page, right after the box that gives you a priori, a posteriori, derived independently of sense experience, blah, blah, blah. After that box, see the paragraph. First, it says first, the distinction between a priori and a posteriori. Inside here, you see my elaboration that I've given to you just for you to settle in the text. All backing dogs back. What the actual contention between rationalists and empiricists is here. Hume's relations of ideas and matters of fact. You can see it there. A is a predicate, whatever, a predicate and subject discussion. They are all going on here for you to go and reference if it will help you understand more. Okay. Now you will see that. Let's turn over together to the very next page after that. And then at the top, you see another terminology set there. This is analytic synthetic, not the earlier one which says a priori, a posteriori. Keep looking at your text. So true by definition, but not bearing on reality. I'm asking a question on that. That's all I want to show you. When you have an analytic statement, it is true by definition, by meanings, by relating the ideas. But it doesn't bear on reality. It doesn't tell you what is there, reality. So, or if I say a chichi is a chichi, it is necessarily true. A is A. Okay, the truth is necessary, but you can't tell whether there is anything. Whether there is reality, whether there is actually existing anything that is called chichi. So redundancy, the part that the thing is logically the case, doesn't speak to content. I keep telling people the thing can be valid by deductive patterns. It doesn't mean it is actually true, are they? The logic of it helps us to structure our thinking, but it doesn't speak to content. If you study, then you will pass. Kofi studied, therefore he must pass. Modus ponens. But Kofi can study in actual life and he will not even live to write the exam. That's substance. The pattern is in Kawaii way and Kawase way the twasso. Now we are way in Kawase way the twasso. But the thing may not follow in actuality because life is not logic. Logic only guides how we are reasoning. One is the pattern, the other is content. Okay, let's come back. So analyticity, the left one, it is true by definition necessarily, but it doesn't bear on reality. While synthetic is not logically certain. I've said all this, I'm just showing you, but it bears on what reality. Look at what that
Doc, please, I can't hear you.
it is raining. It went up a little, but we are back. It is raining in Anchorage. That is like what I said, it is raining at Nungwa. So that paragraph after it is just showing you that you synthesized, like I told you, you go and take a hair outside and come and add to yours, mix it with it to create a new one. Synthesis is the one that gives information. I said all that. Then the last paragraph there. What is the title? They can unmute and read. I want to see if someone is following. If you don't do well, it will pain me. But I know you will do well. Look at it. Read the topic there. Let me see for the page that we are on.
Madam, I thank you.
A priori knowledge.
Okay. I stopped talking, so don't worry. Now, from that paragraph that access, yes, Kwashiga, don't worry. I stopped talking when we went up. Okay, so I'm back. Is there synthetic a priori knowledge? That is what we are going to, I'm going to ask the class to read. Read, is there synthetic a priori knowledge? And write a summary. Read that one all the way to the page after that. So you will see that it is, if you are looking at the original pages of the text, it's page 201, very faint up there. Page 202, and it ends on page 203. Okay, so you are reading pages 201, 202, and 203. The last page has in the middle the necessity and universality. You have to read those 3 pages. I'll open an assessment. The last one that will add to what you have done so far to give you your 50. If I don't do that, there are people who will not read the text before they come. I'm going to give a 30% question that will be central to this. It's applied. So you have to get a raw concept so that you will do well. It's not difficult to do. What you have to do though is to know what Kant is doing and then reconcile it with what we have done in all the rationalist thesis done so far. So I have to put an assignment to it and come and open it and ask you to put the answer there. So you should go and read and make a summary of that page. Is there synthetic a priori knowledge? The one that follows talks Copernican revolution. You see the a priori categories of the understanding. You will see causality, substance, how Kant explains experience. He says experience includes the a priori categories of the understanding. It is those categories that mold and shape and in fact constitute experience. So when I'm experiencing, I'm using a certain frame. My mind is framed in a certain way automatically. That is what makes me experience at all. That framing includes a frame that thinks in terms of cause and effect, causality. A frame that thinks in terms of substance. So I don't see substance. I already involve the assumption of cause and effect when I'm seeing. It is part of what enables my seeing. So when I'm seeing, I'm at once using those a priori categorizations. My mind thinks in terms of what? Space and time. The conditions that make my mind think already assume space and time. That's why I can't think of a God who will be everywhere at once. My mind doesn't have the capacity to conceptualize that. Because my mind works within a restriction, a limit. The book's title is The Limit of what? Purism. And whatever. When you read this page, right after the one that deals with synthetic, you will see these things there. The next page after that now shows you Kant's critique of pure reason and how it is that he thinks the reason alone, that's pure reason, cannot know. Every knowing begins with what? Experience. Whenever I say I know, it started with experience. So knowing begins with experience, says Kant, but it doesn't originate from experience. I'll ask you a question around that. So you read just the 2 pages I've given you, and I come and build on the rest for you to do excellently well and understand the rationalist empiricist distinction, contention, and how the mediation of Kant seems to reconcile it and bring some hope to what? Knowing. We'll have to see what we have to sacrifice to be able to acknowledge the Kantian view. Let me pause the recording and take questions if you have any. Next week, God willing, we'll wrap up on that and we are done. Any questions, please?